Hi, I'm back again. I just couldn't stop reading to y'all. So I just wanted to sort of have us wrap up where we started out our school year. And that's with some of the stories from the Native people. Because many of the stories share lots of things that are similar to fantasy. But a lot of Native people know that these stories try to explain something in nature. So the first one I'm going to read you is The Earth on Turtle's Back. And that's a real famous one for a lot of tribes. So I think it's important for you to know this one. So I'm going to switch the camera over. Just going to ask you to just sit and relax and listen. And I'll invite you, if you want, you can sketch a piece of this story because I know you were doing a lot of sketching before we had to leave school, and it was awesome to be able to see what you guys were thinking about, what was important to you. So let me switch the camera. I'll show you the book. It comes from it's Keepers of the Earth, Native American Stories and Environmental Activities for Children. And a lot of these stories were collected by Joseph Bruchac. And there's a little bit of controversy going on about that, but I'm glad he did because we wouldn't know the stories if he didn't collect them and put them in a book for us. So here's the drawing that we have. Okay, you'll hear a lot about the turtle, the turtle's back, Turtle Island. All right, it's a short story. Okay. The Earth on Turtle's Back. This is from the Onondaga Northeast Woodlands, not too far from where we are. Before this earth existed, there was only water. It stretched as far as one could see. And in that water, there were birds and animals swimming around. Far above in the clouds, there was a skyland. In that skyland, there was a great and beautiful tree. It had 4 white roots, which stretched to each of the sacred directions. And from its branches, all kinds of fruits and flowers grew. There was an ancient chief in the skyland. His young wife was expecting a child, and one night she dreamed that she saw the great tree uprooted. The next morning, she told her husband the story. He nodded as she finished telling her dream. My wife, he said, I am sad that you had this dream. It is clearly a dream of great power, and, as is our way, when one has such a powerful dream, we must do all that we can to make it true. The great tree must be uprooted. Then the ancient chief called the young men together and told them that they must pull up the tree. But the roots of the tree were so deep, so strong, that they could not budge it. At last, the ancient chief himself came to the tree. He wrapped his arms around it, bent his knees, and strained. At last, with one great effort, he uprooted the tree and placed it on its side. Where the tree's roots had gone deep into the skyland, there was now a big hole. The wife of the chief came close and leaned over to look down, grasping the tip of one of the great tree's branches to steady her. It seemed as if she saw something down there far below, glittering like water. She leaned out further to look, and as she leaned, she lost her balance and fell into the hole. Her grasp slipped off the tip of the branch, leaving her with only a handful of seeds as she fell, down, 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 down. Far below in the waters, some of the birds and animals looked up. Someone is falling toward us from the sky, said one of the birds. We must do something. To help her, said another. Then 2 swans flew up. They caught the woman from the sky between their wide wings. Slowly, they began to bring her down toward the water where the birds and animals were watching. She's not like us, said one of the animals. Look, she doesn't have web feet. I don't think she can live in the water. Well, what shall we do then? Said another of the water animals. I know, said one of the water birds. I have heard that there is earth far below the waters. If we dive down and bring up earth, then she will have a place to stand." So the birds and animals decided that someone would have to bring up earth. One by one, they tried. The duck dove down first, some say. He swam down and down, far beneath the surface, but could not reach the bottom and floated back up. Then the beaver tried. He went even deeper, so deep that it was all dark, but he could not reach the bottom either. The loon tried, swimming with its strong wings. He was gone a long, long time, but he too failed to bring up the earth. Soon it seemed that all had tried and all had failed. Then a small voice spoke, "I will bring up earth or die trying." They looked to see who it was. It was the tiny muskrat. She dove down and swam and swam. She was not as strong or as swift as the others, but she was determined. She went so deep that it was all dark, and still she swam deeper. She went so deep that her lungs felt ready to burst. But the swans swam deeper still, but she swam deeper still. At last, just as she was becoming unconscious, she reached out one small paw and grasped the bottom, barely touching it, before she floated up, almost dead. When the other animals saw her break the surface, they thought she had failed. Then they saw her right paw was held tightly shut. "She has the earth," they said. "Now, where can we put it?" "Place it on my back," said a deep voice. It was the great turtle who had come up from the depths. They brought the muskrat over to the great turtle and placed her paw against his back. To this day, there are marks on the back of the turtle's shell, which were made by the muskrat's paw. The tiny bit of earth fell on the back of the turtle. Almost immediately, it began to grow larger and larger and larger until it became the whole world. Then the two swans brought the sky woman down. She stepped onto the new earth and opened her hand, letting the seeds fall onto the bare soil. From those seeds, the trees and grass sprang up. Life on earth had begun. That's not too difficult to tell about this. The next story, look at that picture. Very interesting. It's called Spring Defeats Winter. And that's the reason I'm reading it, is because I hope it's true. When the world was new, long ago, an old man was wandering around. This old man had long white hair, and wherever he stepped, the ground grew hard as stone. When he breathed, the rivers stopped flowing, and the ponds became solid. The birds and animals fled before him, and plants dried up and died as the leaves shriveled and fell from the trees. Finally, this old man found a place where he could set up his lodge. He made the walls of ice and covered it over with snow. He sat inside his lodge in front of a fire, which gave off no heat, though a strange flickering light came from it. His only friend was the north wind, who sat beside the fire with him and laughed as they spoke of things they did to make the world a cold, hard place. They sat and smoked their pipes through the long white nights. One morning, though, as the two dozed by their fire, they felt that something was wrong. The air was harder to breathe, and when they looked outside, they saw strange things happening. The snowdrifts were growing smaller. Cracks were forming in the ice on the pond. Said the north wind, "I can stay no longer." He went out of the lodge and flew through the air toward the north, not stopping until he again reached a place where snow and ice were deep, and there was no hint of warmth. But the old man did not stir. He knew his magic was strong. He had built his lodge to last. Now there came a knocking at his door. Someone was striking against the ice so hard that pieces were falling away from his blows. "Go away," the old man shouted. "No one can enter my lodge." Even as he said it, the door of the lodge broke and fell to the ground. A young man with a smile on his face stood there. Without a word, he stepped into the lodge and sat on the other side of the fire from the old man. He held a green stick in his hand, and with it, he stirred the fire. As he stirred the fire, it began to grow warm. The old man felt sweat begin to run down his face. "Who are you?" said the old man. "Why have you broken my door? No one can come in here but my friend, North Wind. If you do not leave, I will freeze you with my breath." Then the old man tried to blow his chilly breath at the younger stranger, but only a thin mist came from his lips. The young man laughed. "Old man," he said, "let me stay here and warm myself by your fire." The old man grew angry. "I am the one who makes the birds and the animals flee. Wherever I step, the ground turns into flint. I make the snow and ice. I am mightier than you." As he spoke, though, the old man felt more sweat run off his brow, and the young man continued to smile. "Listen," the stranger said. "I'm young and strong. You cannot frighten me. Surely you know who I am. Do you not feel how warm my breath is? Wherever I breathe, the plants grow and flowers bloom. Where I step, the grasses sprout and the snow melts away. The birds and animals come to me. See how long my hair is? Your hair is falling out now, old man. Wherever I travel, I bring the sunshine, and you cannot stay. Do you not know me, old man? Do you not hear my companion, the fawn? She is the south wind. She is blowing on your lodge. It is your time to leave." The old man opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He grew smaller and smaller, and the sweat poured from his brow as he melted away. Then he was gone. The walls of his lodge of ice and snow fell in. Where his cold fire had burned, white flowers now bloomed. Once again, the young man, Spring, had defeated the old man, Winter. And those are the two stories I have to share with you today. See you Tuesday.